Hey guys, I hope you guys are having a fun time on Manhwa Thrills. Today we are starting another new fascinating romantic manhwa by the name Emperor and the Female Knight. Either ways, this story is about a woman, Pollyanna, who is hated by her parents and is sent to the battlefield, even though she was just a child and a girl. Abandoned by her parents, she had no choice but to train hard and be better than the others so that she can take revenge on her parents. To train her, a kind grandfather who also had served in the military trains her to be the best, teach her swordsmanship, and even war tactics. Just as everything is going to plan, Pollyanna and Gare army are ambushed by the other country's army. Will she be accepted as a woman in the army? Will she remain as an ordinary soldier or be given a rank? Will she make it out of the ambush alive? If you want to know how it all boils down, tune in and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate your feedback in the comments for more updates. People chant, "Glory be to Akria" and "Glory be to Lucius." The king lifts his hand and slides it down as the rest of the people behind him kneel down, and a female knight is seen standing behind he king. The day Akria conquered the continent, the emperor came to realize that he had actually fallen in love. We now travel back to the past, 20 years back into the northern state, Ehas, and further into the Krenbel region. We are now introduced to the main female lead, Pollyanna, who is the daughter of a lower aristocrat. A red hair-colored girl is seen playing the piano. She is Pollyanna, and as she plays the keys, she is praised by her mother and father. But in a surprising turn of events, it isn't the Pollyanna playing the keys, but another daughter of theirs. Pollyanna calls her parents from behind a door, but since they didn't hear her, she screams their name and the father is annoyed and asks her what she wants, but in return she tells him that he called her. He then grabs her hand and pulls her somewhere. Ehas has been in a long wars with surrounding countries, and therefore every family has to send one member of the family to the battlefield for the sake of their family name. However, even though she knew that to make her sister Leanna the successor of the family, her father and stepmother had already planned to send her to the battlefield, as she has been hearing this rumor discussed by the family maids. Pollyanna's hair is now cut to a boy's hair, and her father gives her boy-looking clothes, hands her a sword, and takes her with him to a man within the soldier camp. The grandfather asks who she is, and he replies that she is his daughter from his ex-wife, and Pollyanna sits on a sack holding her sword. It is seen that her father is trying to convince the grandfather to take her in, but he refuses to take her in, so he just storms off. Both the grandfather and Pollyanna called him. Even when Pollyanna starts to chase the carriage her father is leaving in, she trips and falls over with tears in her eyes, calling out to her father. But he doesn't even look back, and the grandfather takes her in. He teaches her swordsmanship. At times when practicing, the grandfather tells her to imagine she is standing on a cliff as she doesn't have enough strength in her legs and it looks like she might slip. She trains with him and he gives her a money pouch and tells her to stay alive no matter what, so that she can take revenge on her parents who have been cruel to her all this time. She is now seen practicing slashing 100 times at the dummy, while her grandfather motivates her by saying, if an enemy that can be defeated by 10 slashes, then she should slash him 100 times and should aim for their weak spots. Later, the grandfather teaches her war strategies. He tells her that if she knows they will lose, instead of listening to her commander, as running back to the military barracks is not considered being a coward. We see that Pollyanna has grown up quite a bit and is practicing well. However, when she returns back to the hut, where the grandfather informs her that she will be raped if she loses, while reminding her it could be their tropes as well, and asks her why she is trying so hard, to which she realizes she doesn't know yet. He reminds her that aimless hard work will destroy a person. Pollyanna, while practicing on a dummy, tells herself that there is nothing she can do but work hard, and in no time Pollyanna is 14 years old, while she is entering the conscripted army, and tells herself that there is no way her father would take her back home. At the same time, in an enemy country, a young and famous prince was appointed as a successor of the throne. Soon, when all the soldiers are in the carriage, they ask her name, and she replies that her name is Pollyanna Kellenbell, and the question if she is a woman, to which she nods. All the soldiers make a fuss about Pollyanna being a lady and rush to stare at her. She asks if there is a problem if she is a woman and states that just like everyone else, it is her first time going to the battlefield. A boy stands up and narrates a story that his grandfather had told him. His grandfather said, if they touch a woman who's not family, before we go to the battlefield. Then they get killed in the war, and all the soldiers panic. Some say that they have shook her hands, while others ask why there is a woman in their troops. She asks them if they really believe that nonsense, but they ignore her and questions what kind of family sends their daughter to the battlefield. They then continue to be mean to her, saying that she will just be a slut. Pollyanna stays calm a feather and informs them that she has been trained in swordsmanship beforehand, but they seemed unconvinced, so she gives up trying to convince him. Soon, a voice behind her tells her to get off the carriage and walk to the unit army with her own 2 feet. Pollyanna tries to convince them, but instead she is shoved by a boy telling her that it isn't easy for her as it isn't about her life, and asks if she thinks that a battlefield is like a playground. They all then tell her to get off and is aggressively shoved by one of the dude telling her that it isn't personal and that she should clean the dishes and ask her father to come to the battlefield instead. Pollyanna then starts to walk with the other soldiers, where one of the guys behind her speaks to the other guy beside him that the nobles get a separate carriage for themselves, and he should have one too, as he is the young master of a noble family. But since it's the first time for him to witness a woman in a battlefield, he shouts. But his partner asks him to keep his voice low, whereas Pollyanna can easily hear both of them talk. The young prince is now all grown up and in his teenage years, while a guard appears behind him and tells him that he has been looking for him everywhere. His guard's name is Eno, while the prince's name is Lucius. Eno informs Lucius that His Highness, Lucius's father, is looking for him, and he asks Eno if His Highness is sick again, but Eno replies that he isn't the one to express himself clearly. Lucius is then presented in front of the Highness, where His Highness is seen coughing, and Lucius asks if he has caught cold again, but His Highness tells him that he should worry about this, but instead should worry about the war between Ahus and Kukta, as it will soon happen, and asks his opinion about the outcome of the battle. Lucius with confidence answers that the war won't be going anywhere as the soldiers and the people are tired of the ongoing prolonged war. He concludes that even if one side wins, they won't have enough power to unify the people of the other countries, and even if they have a great agriculture backing them with the ratio needed for their soldiers to eat for almost a year, this has been going on repeatedly, and they needs to stop this too. His Highness agrees to everything that Lucius has just said, and further says that if they don't have a good reason to end this prolonged war, things will keep on going like how they already are. Lucius suggests that they should send soldiers. Now Ask Ahus and Kukta have already exhausted themselves in the war, and they can now easily win over them, but His Highness tells him that there will be objection from the elders in the meeting and starts to cough uncontrollably. He tells Lucius that he doesn't have much time left, and now we see him dead, due to the winter sickness, because winter in Acrea are very long. His Highness's sentence is now stuck in Lucius's head that His Highness doesn't have much time left and that it will soon be Lucius's turn to become the Highness. He wonders if that is true and if he will be able to unite all the countries together. The young master in the horse carriage is then kicked out from the carriage by none other than Pollyanna. He curses her, but she replies that he was the one who said that he didn't wanted to ride a carriage with a woman, and turns towards the rest of the soldiers, that if they have a problem with her being on the carriage, she will happily help them out. Warfare mainly occurs in winters, as summer, spring, and fall, they have to farm and stock up supplies. The war has been going on since 5 winters, meaning 5 years, and this is the 6th winter, or the 6th year. And as Pollyanna is laying on her bed in her designated camp, she thinks that the war seems hopeless, as she thought the war would take 10 years. But even on its 6th year, there's just no stopping or slowing down. She wonders if there is a future for her country and for herself while unwrapping a bandage off her hand. Later, Pollyanna seems to be asking her commander for a vacation. The commander replies that even if he sends her back, she herself said that even if she had sent her back, she doesn't have a place to stay. She replies that it'd only be for a few days and asks for his approval to visit her hometown. The commander wonders if taking a vacation in a situation where they don't know when Kukta will strike. He is interrupted midway by a person next to him and tells him that she is a woman, and not having her won't particularly affect their army's force. The commander agrees with the man next to him and stamps the approval paper for the vacation, and she heads back out. She is now a platoon commander, and her soldiers are there to say their goodbye, and she waves her hands at them. She then sits on cart with her sword, and just as she bites an apple, She, in her mind, thinks how she had worked hard for 6 years and was promoted to the leader of a platoon. But she recalls how her commander tells her that this year Kukta will go for an all-out war this year, and so the year passes and the same thing again. Which means this goes on for 4 years, and recalls how her mentor told her that aimless hard work will destroy a person talks to her, that she doesn't know if she has been destroyed but surely is tired of everything. Soon she arrives at the mansion, her old house, enters and slams the door, whereas her sister isn't happy. As it turns out, it is her birthday, and asks her if she came on purpose to ruin it. Pollyanna greets her sister and sarcastically thanks her sister for the heartwarming welcome and wishes her a happy birthday in advance. But it turns out that her sister is annoyed by her arrival and shouts that she should have told them if she was planning to return. The maids are surprised by her arrival and ask if she has had dinner yet. As if she hasn't, they will make her dinner and why she has come this late. However, Pollyanna declines and asks if she can eat some of the bread that was present on the table. She grabs a bread and keeps her legs on the tablecloth as her sister freaks out. Turns out they were her favorite tablecloth. But Pollyanna ignores her and says that it would be nice if there would be some butter present to go with the bread, as finding butter is hard to find around the border as she munches on the bread. Her sister is mad at Pollyanna as she came to the mansion without telling her, and that she should leave right now. But Pollyanna replies to her that she won't be moving an inch, and adds that if she survives another 4 years on the battlefield, she would be the getting out of the house while she rips the bread apart. Liana, her sister, is shocked by her words and her tone as she continues to tell her sister that by law, if she spends 10 years on the battlefield, the land's authority will be given to her. Suddenly, a loud bang is heard, and their father scolds Pollyanna, asking where she learned to talk like that, and smacks her, informing her that Liana is the Kellenbell family successor. Pollyanna now lays on her bed and reminds herself that she needs to wake up at dawn and immediately rush to the capital to collect information. She figures out that if she wants to survive in a country where there is no future, in an army where people gather based on their statuses, and in a family who just wants to take advantage of her, she should find information. She then sets off at dawn and visits multiple places at the capital and communicates with lots of the citizens and workers, witnesses people celebrating, but just passes through them. Soon, her journey comes to a halt, and while staying in one of the rooms, she is seen researching about the king, how he had become inherited the throne at such a young age. He would be planning to do something on a huge scale and figures out a big, and finds a pattern. The king is seen playing chess with Ino, where he checkmates him and wins for the 8th time, and exclaims that maybe it is a good sign whining easily like this, and hopes that conquering Ahas would run as easy as the game of chess he played. Pollyanna returns to the camp the next day, and her soldiers are surprised that she came back so early. One of them even called her a witch. She rushes to ask where the head battalion commander is and explains that he has something to report them. She asks where he is, and the soldier next to her informs her that they are in a meeting with the generals to discuss the war. She dashes into the room where the guards are present to stop her, but she rushes into the room either ways. People murmur that, isn't she from Kellenbell's family? But she just sighs and glares at the commander. And soon after, a huge thud is heard when the commander asks if she is really saying that Akreya will invade, and if she interrupted the meeting just to talk about this nonsense. Pollyanna exclaims that it isn't nonsense, as Akreya's military movements have been suspicious and they needs to send soldiers over to the border. The person next to the commander tells her that she has only been in war for 6 years and that an all-out war is happening soon, as she knows nothing. Pollyanna screams that there won't be an all-out war, but the person replies that the king said that since Kukta's movement has been unusual, this winter will be their decisive war against Kukta. Pollyanna looks directly at the generals and the commander and says that it's always said that it will end, and the same order is given every winter, and even until spring arrives, the war still wouldn't be over. She points towards the commander as she says, that does the commander not know that the war will never end? However, the commander is unfazed by what she had said, informs her that she will go back to being an ordinary knight and will be taken from her title as a platoon leader. Just as she leaves the camp, she hears the generals laughing that the commander has done the right thing and that there is no point in listening to a woman's words. After she is outside of the tent, she reminds herself that after all, the generals won't die at war, the soldiers would, and that's why they don't seem to care much about it. She spits on the ground, calling the generals and commanders bastards. We see Ahas's army marching forward while the commander on the horse states that this will be their last battle. The soldiers are full of enthusiasm, and Pollyanna wonders if the day would really come when the war is over, and she can finally sleep in peace, knowing that there isn't a war going on. She recalls all those times, asking if a day would come that she wouldn't have to work hard to survive, and wonders when she would be able to live that. Just as the army Ahas's army is marching forward, they are ambushed by Akrea's army. Arrows are shot, and many are killed during the ambush. However, injured Pollyanna and a couple of her soldiers manage to escape. She tells the soldiers to run and follow her to leave no traces behind of them whatsoever. One of the men, while panting, says that they are lucky that they followed Pollyanna, or else they would have been dead. They recall that when the ambush started, Pollyanna told them to not retreat but rush over to the plain so that after a while they can go through the cave on the right and enter the forest. Another solider beside the man laughingly states that he can still hear Pollyanna's voice midst the commotion and says that she is indeed truly the witch of the battlefield. In a serious tone, Pollyanna corrects the man by saying if he jokes around another time, she hopes he would have the strength to survive her anger and proceeds to smack him, and he screams that he is sorry and that he will stop with the nicknames when someone tells him to speak quietly. A person is seen in front of the king and says that he is ashamed that they got away, and he questions him what he meant by got away and continues by saying if he meant reporting that, because since it was a small-scale ambush, everything should be in their control, to which the person apologizes. He adds that there was a man in command who didn't panic when they ambushed and successfully managed to escape through the forest with their platoon. The king exclaims that this might be troublesome, and adds that their plan would disrupted even if one of them manages to get back to the country and alert the others for help. The person adds that platoon is currently being followed by their troops, and they will hear the result soon. The king then lifts off his throne and says that he trusts him, and continues that he wonders how the competent man in command looks like, and tells the person in front of him to bring him back alive. But little does he know, it's not a man, but a woman. Pollyanna tells her platoon that she will bait them, but the soldiers are curious to know what she means by bait them. Pollyanna adds that if they travel in groups, they will definitely get caught even if they hide. When one of them annoyingly asks her if she means that they will go without her but unfazed, Pollyanna replies that since she is the noble of this place, she knows her way around the forest, plus if she gets caught, she has a worth as a hostage, but if any of them get caught, it will be a gruesome death for them. Furthermore, she says that they shouldn't hesitate and should get the hell out of here since protecting them is her duty. Pollyanna is soon caught telling herself that it was all a lie since she is no longer a platoon leader, and she wouldn't be of worth much as a hostage. Even if they ask her family for ransom, they wouldn't respond. The king then steps in front of her, all of the soldiers unaware that she is a woman. She thinks that she is happy that she died having dignity while protecting her subordinates. Just as she looks above to the king, she wonders if an angel is already there to meet her. The king takes a seat and asks a man next to him if he is sure it is him, to which the man replies that from the running skill he is certain. He asks her how she was able to run away for 3 days straight, and she recalls that this might be the newly crowned king. Lucius asks her name. She raises her head and figures that if she speaks, she doesn't know what they will do once they find out she is a woman. A soldier behind her hits her with his sword so that she kneels again, whereas Lucius asks her where her subordinates are, to which she just stares at him saying nothing. The soldier again hits her and asks her to answer, however, Lucius asks him to stop. He questions her since she is the only one they captured. Did her subordinates went to ask for reinforcements? But again, Pollyanna stays shut, just as Lucius continues that it's of no use since they have already captured the other base as well, and she remembers those old generals. Moreover, Lucius continues that either it is what he stated earlier, or did she fool them just so they could escape? Lucius starts laughing, but in Pollyanna's mind, she is already prepared to die. Lucius then picks up his sword and places on her shoulder, and while looking into her eyes, say that he wants to know the name of the honorable knight, and in a cold, hard tone, she tells him that her name is Pollyanna, and with a smile, Lucius confirms her name is Sir Paul, and asks her if she would like to be his knight, and just as he looks over to her, he notices that she is woman, and the soldier starting murmuring that does Ahas lack men, that they needed to send a woman to the battlefield. She wonders how he figured it out so quickly, and Pollyanna asks Lucius to kill her with all her might and allow her to die as a knight, and the king asks his soldiers to cut her head off. This is the end of the video, and to know what happens later, please subscribe and press that bell icon, as we will be releasing more updates from this manhwa.